Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating way of thinking about our deepest beliefs, all based on the work of a philosopher named Tennyson Samraj. And it's an idea that challenges us to see faith not as something we just find, but as something we actively choose. So, let's jump right in with a question that sounds simple, but is actually huge. Is believing something the same as knowing it? I mean, you'd think they're pretty similar, right? But once you start to pull at that thread, you realize the difference is, well, it's everything. And to really get it, we've got to nail down our definitions. All right, so first things first. Let's talk about what it actually means to know something in that classic philosophical sense. For literally centuries, the gold standard for what counts as knowledge has been this three-part test. It's called justified true belief, or JTB for short. So first, you have to actually believe the thing. Makes sense? Second, you need a good reason for it, some evidence, some kind of justification. And third, and this is the big one, it has to actually be true. If you can check all three of those boxes, congratulations, you have knowledge. But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when we try to take that super rigorous model and apply it to life's biggest, deepest questions? Well, that's when things start to get a little complicated. This lays it out perfectly. Our beliefs really fall into two different buckets. Over on the left, you've got your verifiable beliefs. The Earth is round. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. This is stuff we can test, measure, and prove. They fit that JTB model like a glove. But then on the right, you have the heavy hitters, our existential beliefs. Does God exist? Do we have a soul? You can't exactly put the human soul in a test tube and measure it, can you? And that, right there, is the heart of the issue. The whole framework of justified true belief, which is so amazing for science and facts, just breaks down when it comes up against questions that are beyond what we can empirically prove. So if that old path is a dead end for these kinds of questions, we're going to need a new one. And this is exactly where Tennyson Samraj steps in and proposes a totally different framework, one that's built specifically for these huge existential questions. He calls it Justified Belief Decision, or JBD. And I want you to just listen to that name for a second. The goal isn't to prove something is true anymore. It's to justify a personal choice to believe. That's a massive shift in how we look at this stuff. So, how's it work? Well, according to Samraj, the first step isn't trying to verify anything. It's just comprehension. You just have to be able to wrap your head around an idea, what he calls an essence. Like, for example, just understanding the concept of a creator that exists on its own without depending on anything else. Okay, so once you've grasped the idea, the second step is where you come in. It's an active step. You make a decision. You consciously choose to either accept that concept or to reject it. It's on you. And this is absolutely crucial. This is a volitional act. Volitional is just a fancier way of saying it's a conscious act of your own will. So in this model, belief isn't some passive thing you just fall into. No, it's an active, deliberate decision that you make. This table really makes the difference crystal clear. Look at JTB. It's all based on proof, the goal is truth, and the outcome is knowledge. Simple. But JBD is totally different. The basis is just understanding and your own will. The goal isn't to prove anything, but just to justify your own choice. And the outcome? It's not the birth of knowledge. It's the birth of believers, or for that matter, disbelievers. It's about who you choose to be. Now, to make this idea a little less abstract and easier to grab onto, Samraj actually coined a brand new term to describe this ability we have for making these big, justified choices. He calls it the belief quotient, or BQ, and I think this is pretty brilliant. Think about it. We all know about IQ, which measures how smart we are, and EQ, which is all about emotional intelligence. Well, Samraj suggests we think about BQ as this third kind of measure, one that gauges our ability to make intelligent, thoughtful decisions about why we believe the things we do. You could almost think of it as a measure of our spiritual intelligence. It's our capacity to navigate these massive, profound choices when there isn't a neat and tidy, provable answer waiting for us. It's a skill that gets put to the test when we face life's ultimate questions. So, why does any of this matter? What's the big takeaway? Well, it's because this whole framework, this idea of a belief quotient, completely changes how we view the most personal and important decisions we will ever make. What's really interesting is that, according to the paper, both the choice to believe and the choice to disbelieve are seen as justified decisions. The reasons for belief might come from ideas like immortality or the deep human search for meaning, or this philosophical need for a first cause. But on the flip side, the reasons for disbelief are just as rational. Arguments about the problem of evil or the apparent conflict between an all-powerful being and human freedom. The point isn't about picking the right side. It's that developing your belief quotient is about understanding the weight and the reasons behind the choice you ultimately make. And honestly, this quote from Samraj just nails it. It brings everything we've talked about right home. The process of knowing gives us knowledge, sure, but the process of volition, of actively choosing, that's what creates believers and disbelievers. It's what defines us at our very core. So we want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you really sit and reflect on your own deepest convictions, the things you believe about the world and your place in it, are they pieces of knowledge that you just discovered? Or are they justified decisions that you have made? Maybe the real question is, how have you been exercising your own belief quotient to get where you are today? Because it seems the choice, in the end, is yours.